Hello and welcome to Control Alt Marketing. I'm your host Meeta Mandavkar. My guest today is Krishna Kumar N, a business storytelling consultant and a fractional CMO who was previously the head of brand marketing at iMocha and director of marketing at Prodapt. Now here's a twist. He wasn't always a marketer. He spent over a decade leading sales and business development teams before starting in marketing. He's also a thought leader, and his insights have been published in major outlets like Economic Times, Your Story, and a lot more. If you're curious about what it takes to build a successful career in marketing, even if it wasn't your original plan, you don't want to miss this episode. Let's meet Krishna. Thank you, Krishna, for joining me today in, for this episode of Control Alt Marketing. I'm so excited to have you here and to listen to your story and share your story with the audience. Now, one thing before we just start off, I would love to get into your professional journey, but before that, I would love to learn about you and your early life before we get into that.
Thank you, Mita, for having me. Nice to be part of this show. Interesting name also, Control Alt Marketing. A lot of people are familiar with that terminology, Control Alt and something else. But yeah, it's good to be part of a marketing show and share my story to your audience. Yeah, I think my journey. Before I delve into my studies and other things. I'm based in. I was based in Madurai, something like a city 500 kilometers south of Chennai in Tamil Nadu, and which is known for very culturally rich temples and a lot of. It's also called as Temple City because of the number of temples that surround the famous Meenakshi Amman temple and other things are there. So I grew up in a place called Gandhi Museum. My father worked for a Gandhian institution, and because of which we had a campus, a community in which we were living, a campus. And I had done all my schooling and my engineering in the same place. So my father was kind enough and was able to put me through in a good school throughout, and didn't have a chance to move around. That was also a good situation to be in at that point of time. But now I see that multiple schools also offers multiple friendships. But by virtue of being in one school, there was a stable school life. And I also studied did my undergraduate engineering in the same city engineering college. So that's a brief about my personal.
Great. I think, so you briefly mentioned that, so you started your career as a mechanical engineer, and it's a very different field from marketing altogether. So initially, what was it that drove you into engineering? And, later on, like from engineering, how did things happen? Because you even worked as an engineer after your graduation, I remember.
Yeah, that's true. So technically, if you classify that my career, it could be like I'm in the third or fourth leg of the segment of the career, starting off as an engineer. So I graduated in the stroke of the millennium. Got into engineering or the undergraduate in the stroke of the millennium, right? Like 2000 is when I got into my undergraduate college. So at that point of time, I think you study half decent. You are going to aspire for engineering, and that's the same case. That was the same case with me also. So even though my father wanted me to take up biology group during my 11th and 12th, I preferred to opt out and did subject which is that point of time was very buzzing, right? Like computer in late 90s. I took up by computer science maths group, and which means you only have probably two options. One, if you are decent enough, you get into engineering, or you get into some maths or science courses. So because by virtue of the school and the friends and that situation, that point of time, the overall market and everything, engineering was the only default choice actually. In fact, I didn't even buy any other application for my undergraduation, any other college, nothing. I just got only one application for the Tamil Nadu engineering admissions. So I was like so much confident and fixated that I'm going to be an engineer. I'm not very sure like why at that point of time, looking back like 25 years after. But yeah, I think it was early days and you only had so much knowledge to look around. But yeah, I think engineering by default, I had to, because of that situation, I got into engineering. I did a decent job. It was a private engineering college and one of the topmost at that point of time in that city, my city. And for mechanical engineers, campus placements are very rare, even in top engineering colleges. Very few companies used to come and offer campus. Top tier colleges, of course, yeah, there will be multiple companies that will come. But the core companies, they call companies that offer you jobs in the mechanical engineering domain, right, like manufacturing or something like that. So they were anyway few in most of the colleges. It was always tech companies that used to recruit more even then. Unfortunately for me at that point of time, there was this company that came, L4G Limited. They came only once earlier. My seniors were also recruited, and I think they came in the subsequent year also. And I was fortunate. I was one of the three classmates, three friends among us, three of my batchmates got placed there. That was the only company that came for campus, and I'm really lucky that I could get in there. And yeah, I think that's how I got into mechanical engineering as a professional after I studied. Both studies and job in the same domain, something a lot of people aspire, and most of the times we want to do that. That's why we are studying that. But yeah, that was very fortunate for me, and I was, you can say, lucky, because there are a lot of other classmates who had top scored and were way ahead of me, like in other aspects, like academically. But I think my appetite to read and things like that, right, like beyond just course content, that helped me in personal interview and the group discussions, apart from the domain mistake. Yeah. So that's how I landed up in my first job as a mechanical engineer.
I think one thing that I recall from our conversation is you started working at this place that only a company that had come in for mechanical engineering. You landed a role. You landed a role with your friends. You were working alongside your friends. And quite a few things happened there, which ultimately led you to take a slightly different decision when it came to your career. Let's get into that. Like, how was that first job as a fresh engineer out of college?
Yeah, so I studied in, my city was Madurai, and this company is based in Chennai, L4G Limited. And they had a few manufacturing plants in and around Chennai, and then there was one plant they had in Hosur, which is closer to Bangalore. Our job was to manage the shop floor. There were multiple shifts. I think 3 shifts are there. So one of the shifts, my friend was, after a brief training, right, a month or two, we were asked to manage one of the shifts, basically, and manage the entire shop floor. Which is like the average labor or the worker, whoever was working there, was at least 5 years older than us, and at least the eldest would have been like at least double of our age, like at least mid-30s, 40s, and we were just out of college, and we were asked to manage them. So basically, we don't know much about a lot of other things that they are doing. They are already subject matter experts because they are working there for several years. And asking us to manage them without so much of domain knowledge, I'm not sure like whether I will take that chance, but the company was brave enough to give us that opportunity. But I think my senior had proved them that it works, and he had done a very good job. So I had to thank him, because after he got in, he brought in some improvements and other things, and which gave them confidence that these guys, even though they are like graduate engineers, they're able to do it well. and probably that's the thing that he did. That's a good job that he did, for which we were rewarded. And but I'm still skeptical, like how they can trust us. But unluckily for me, I was not given the shop floor management, but I was asked to manage the maintenance team. There was a maintenance head, and I was like, like apprenticing or something like that, training along with him. And he had to go on like 2 month holiday or break, because he was appearing for some exams for his higher studies. And they asked me to manage the entire team, and that was a big, so very unpleasant move for me, because it's a small, a 5-6 member team, and at least shop floor is something which is a very everyone in the company, or from the manager, the branch head, to everyone knows a knowledge of. But maintenance is a more nuanced and more intricate work, because a machine shuts down. Then you need to go and troubleshoot and make it work. And I don't know anything about those presses or anything. But I am asked to manage them, so I can't give them any insights or anything. So that's how the journey was. But yeah, slowly and eventually we learn, and it was not a very comfortable learning. Like what now, after I realizing how the IT companies are giving training versus the manufacturing setup, and especially with the place where I started my career, it's too vast, different actually. So you don't have any formal training process. You don't get exposure to how the machines are working and things like that. All of that you just learn on the job, and then you master that with your knowledge, and you manage people. So too complicated for a 21-year-old guy at that point of time. That's a lot of pressure. So yeah, I think all of that created discomfort in me, and I could not probably a lot of moving parts, right? Like people management, technology, this thing, all of that. Also, along with that, it also questioned me whether anyway I was very, if at all I am made for this, and wanted to continue this. And so all of that made me to think a lot. So whether this is the path that I should pursue. So that's when I looked for opportunities. Even for accessing an internet, there was only one internet cafe in that a place. So I used to go later in the day after my shift is over to that place. I think one hour used to cost like 40 rupees. Yeah. So I think that's when I started exploring multiple other options, and fortunately I got an opportunity, or where a school friend of mine was working in sales role. So that's when that opportunity also came along, and he called me and told that, okay, there is an opportunity like this, should you want to explore? So that's where my mechanical engineering, like around that, like a 10 or 11 months of journey ends actually. So that's the longest, or that's the part in which I was actually an engineer for the 4 years that I spent.
What an introduction to mechanical engineering, like the hardcore, shop, being there on the floor, doing everything. You were thrown in the deep end. I think the whole idea not working out, it meant you had a different path to pursue, and that's how you came into sales, and that's how your further journey starts off. But okay, so you got your start in sales thanks to a school friend who was already working in a sales role, but and also understood like your motivation behind doing this. I think I recall you saying that when you started working in your first sales role, the movie Rocket Singh, it resonated a lot with your experience. So, like, how was the first sales role? How did things go? What was your experience like from mechanical engineering into a very different world altogether?
Yeah, so the Rocket Singh came much later. So the movie itself was made later actually. But I could resonate with that movie because I have done that job. Most of the sales guys who are selling computers in the mid 2000s might relate to the Rocket Singh movie very well. So yeah, I think I joined HCL Infosystems in a sales role to sell computers. Basically, that point of time, it was all box computers, the old thing, which we don't see anymore. And my job was, I was like tasked to sell into the market closer to Coimbatore. So I was part of the regional office in Coimbatore. So the extended locations, right, cities, there are multiple cities which were under the Coimbatore region. So I was deputed to Tirupur, which is known for t-shirts, manufacturing, and other things. So there is a lot of industries there to sell into. So primarily to sell computers to these industries, t-shirt manufacturing companies, and any educational institutions, small government institutions. So those were the target audience or target customers for this product. So basically, they allocate. Probably, I was one of the first team member in that sales team member in that region. All others were like mostly service engineers for whom they were already servicing. So the entire city was to take. I was managed. I was asked to sell into the entire city, like wherever. I could find customers to buy. So you make a plan, like okay, every day. You have a weekly or monthly that sort of targets. So you know that okay, I will go in this street or this road for today, and these are the number of companies. Once you go there, you know that okay, these are like 20 companies that are there. So you just start doing cold calling, right? Like talk to the security, then you get in, and then there may be some receptionist, there may not be a receptionist, the owner may be sitting in the front. You just directly go, you ask them like who they are and things like that, in a subtle manner, and then you say why you are there, and then you go and start pitching. So that's how the journey starts. So you don't have a lot of market intelligence or account intelligence, all of that we talk now. You knock like 10 doors, probably 2 will say that okay, you come tomorrow, or maybe let's discuss this maybe a week later, next month, something like that. So that's how the job is. So first quarter was very tough because that's when a lot of learning happened, and I was also very sort of a very soft spoken, very introverted guy, and it's very difficult to overcome that inhibitions. Sometimes the building itself will threaten you, like it's a so massive building that you are standing in front of it and you don't know anyone to walk in to guide you to get into the building to talk, and then you initiate the discussion and things like that. So I think the first 3-4 months has been a lot of learning, and then I started slowly getting converting orders, and then by the end of like 18, I think I was there with them for almost 1.5 years. I was also now after 1 year I moved to a close by another city which is little more bigger, and it's called Erode. And there the education segment business was huge. A lot of engineering colleges were there, and they used to buy like 200 machines, some 300 machines, things like that. So you do one deal, you're done for the year, sort of a target sort of thing. So I managed to close some good deals in that. I think the next 6 months. The first year was relatively average, I would say. But the second 6 months, the next year, 6 months were still when I was there. I could overachieve because of good accounts getting converted and large teams getting converted. So that's how the process was. And after 1.5 years, after 1 year itself, I decided that okay, if sales is what I want to pursue, so I need to upskill myself, and I need to learn or enroll into an MBA program. So I started going for weekend entrance coaching to a nearby town, Coimbatore, basically to prepare for entrance, the CAT entrance test. So I think for 6 months I've been doing that. Every weekend was spent traveling and then learning, and so that's how the sales journey started.
That's I think so many references in your story and in your journey, the experience with the internet cafe. Uh, you did actual proper door-to-door sales. It's so tough. Right now, even with the tools that we have right now, it's not easy. And to do it at that point of time, to actually go meet people, I mean, things were done like that even before COVID, but not easy. But I think I would say one thing, at least from the way it's coming across, you really enjoyed working in sales as compared to working in mechanical engineering. Like what you were doing earlier, this definitely brought a lot of happiness.
Yeah, you can say, even though it was a tough situation in the sense, yeah, I think compared to the sales engineering role, this is something which I wanted to pursue further, and I wanted to build on that. That's for sure. But it was not something which I was very comfortable doing it, because by nature, by personality, you are something else, and you are trying to overcome that, and you acquire the other traits that are needed for the job, and do that. So yeah, I think it was it's good learning experience, definitely. Yeah, doing that, right? Like, because now a lot of, I'm not sure like whether people are doing that door to door in enterprise setting anymore. Even though a lot of other businesses do insurance and other people do, but it's very rare that you see that happening.
True. I think COVID also brought about a lot of changes. It actually, gave us that whole scenario that, okay, sales and a lot of other things can happen even if you're not sitting together in the same room. Sitting together in the same room, obviously the impact is a lot different, but yeah, I think that's definitely there. So coming back to your story, so you spent like a year and a half doing your first role in sales, and then you figured that, okay, yeah, if this is something I want to move ahead in, then you wanted to get into like an MBA. You got into market post MBA at a very difficult time in economy. It was the 2008 financial crisis. So how was your experience like during MBA? Were you always planning to do your MBA in marketing? Or like, what were the things that happened at that point of time?
So I had given CAT and scored decent marks, not in the 90s, but around some decent marks, so that I got into Pondicherry University, which is a central government university, and they had a Department of Management Studies, which is one of the oldest in the central universities and South India, actually. So my intention when I wanted to do MBA was to specialize in finance, because I read a lot during my preparation for CAT, and I got an impression that the finance guys, because they are managing money, they also make more money. So that was the intention with which if I had to do MBA, once I get into an MBA, I will pursue finance as a specialization. So with that intent only, I joined. So the first year, I joined in 2007, and it was all good. And the first year was anyway general studies and other things. But because two good things, right? Like the department had good faculty in marketing, and once I started learning more about the subjects, I realized that, okay, more than finance, I will be, because I can leverage my past experience in sales also. So I said that, okay, now instead of like specializing in finance, where it's a very new subject, and I wanted to build on my strengths, because sales is something which I already came up with. So I decided to do specialization in marketing. It also gave a lot of exposure. The university because I see a lot of merit when colleges, MBA institutes, when they say that, okay, you have prior work experience to do an MBA program, because it added a lot of value to me, because I came with an experience. We were like out of 60 or 65 people in my batch, around 4 to 5 members were experienced folks, at least 2 years of experience. So I could see the lot of difference, the way we think and the way we approach certain problems and courses and other things, versus somebody who was just graduated and immediately doing an MBA program. But I feel that when someone comes with an experience, definitely a lot of value is there. one great thing about the Pondicherry University was because it's a central university, you get candidates or students from all across India. So we had the students from Andaman Nicobar. I had my batchmates from Andaman Nicobar to Jammu Kashmir to Tripura, Nagaland to like Rajasthan. All corners of the country. We had students almost in my batch alone. We had around 18 to 19 states representation. It was a very new experience for me personally because all the while I had been in Tamil Nadu and very rarely had ventured beyond the state. So this brought a lot of cultural nuances and awareness, which is also very essential once you get into a job and once you start exploring, traveling and moving out of cities and states, right? Like understanding the cultural, being culturally aware and knowing about a lot of things definitely adds value. So it was a very good foundation that I had. But beyond that, I got a lot of exposure, which I couldn't or I didn't do during my other schooling or my engineering days. So it was a very great opening and foundation for me. And yeah, like what you said, 2007 I got in, and 2008 is when the global financial crisis started. So naturally, when we graduated 2009, the campus placements were very bad. There were companies that were coming. I think we had one or two tech companies that visited our campus, and there were few off campus. And then a bunch of banks came to campus to hire, nationalized banks also. But I think to me, I was not very keen on pursuing banking as a career. So most of the campus placements I opted out in the banking domain, even though they were like public sector and things like that. But good thing was like when I did my internship, in my summer internship after the first year. So I did it with a company called Avaya Global Connect, which was selling IP telephony, unified conferencing solutions and things like that. So, my mentor was a very good gentleman called Solomon, and so he actually was impressed. And the branch I did it in Bangalore actually, the Bangalore Avaya, and they were very, they appreciated the work, and they said that my mentor said that okay, once you're done with the course, we will see like if there's an opportunity, most likely we'll get you here. Something sort of a soft commitment he gave to me. So that was anyway there. So that was a good thing, right? Like your internships, unlike the tier 1 MBA schools where the PPOs and other things are a very common thing. I was in a very mid-tier school, MBA school, and still managing to get that commitment was good actually for me. And I had that confidence. But because of the global financial crisis, most of the companies had hiring pause, and that was also there in Avaya. So when I dialed him up, he said that that's the situation. So whenever there is a lift in the hiring pause, I will definitely reach out to you. But for now, there is no hiring. So it was left to my own self. But I think because of the background in sales and because of the internship that I did with Avaya, I got an opportunity with Godrej and Boys, which is the oldest, one of the oldest business groups, right? So they were having a division called Prima, which was selling the earlier typewriters, which they rebranded it to sell audio video conferencing solutions, AV, they say system integration. So I got into that division again to be part of the Tamil Nadu region. I was based in Chennai. The same sort of a role, sales role for the Tamil Nadu region. So some part of Tamil Nadu I was taking care. So that's how, even though there was the global financial crisis, because of the background, the prior work experience with HCL specifically, because Godrej and HCL were competing in this line of business, and the regional head who was hiring me, so he was very happy because I was being treated like, okay, this guy is from a competition, so he knows how this stuff is done, and added to that, I did an internship with Avaya, so that also helped because all these are all Avaya is a OEM player, so it's also one of the leading brands which other companies are selling. So that all came in hand, and it's like connecting the dots, like Steve Jobs says, right? You don't know like why. Well, I mean, you go along with the flow, but when you look back, okay, these are the things that get connected. So yeah, that's how my MBA journey leading up to the first job happened.
That was quite a roller coaster, but like you said, connecting the dots, all the things that you had done before it came together at that point of time. So right now, like you started your first role in a very financial crisis kind of this thing, but you landed at a very good place with Godrej and Boyce. You were doing sales over there, and you had like prior sales experience as well. Then you later on, I believe you moved on from Godrej and you moved to another place, and there was quite a bit of story even over there. I think before you moved to the next role, where you ended up spending a really sizable amount of time, there were a couple of things that happened. Can we just get into that? I would love to have the listeners know that part of your story too.
Yeah, so I think things happen for some reason, right? Like global financial crisis at that time, and so after I joined Godrej, I was there for a year and a half, but somehow I was not getting that comfort, and there was a urge to look out, and things were not very good for me at that point of time. So sales was also not happening as much as I wanted, and basically things were not working out, and I was also trying to see like whether I can. I was evaluating opportunities like what should be done and things like that. So that's when I got a call out of the blue from my MBA mentor in Avaya, and he said that the hiring freeze has been lifted, and there is an opportunity with the Bangalore division. And he wanted me to give the video interview from Chennai office, from Chennai Avaya. So I went there, I gave the interview. Meanwhile, through an MBA alumni, I got an opportunity to interview with a company called Arisent, and they were a software company primarily selling to telecom product companies like Nokia, Samsung, Siemens, and Alcatel, and a lot of other Ericsson, Cisco, that sort of companies. They were providing software services. So through them, through my MBA alumni, I reached out to, I got this reference and I gave an interview there, and I was selected there also. So I interviewed for a role in the account management team in that recent company. So I got an offer from there also. So yeah, I was like a year and a half back without any job or in that very tough situation during the global financial crisis. 1.5 years later, two different companies, very good companies, very good brands, having offers on both companies, from both companies. So it was a good situation to be in at that point of time. Now the tough situation was to decide between these two, because one has a similar role where what I was doing with Godrej, similar sort of same geography, similar sort of products, just at a bigger brand, and it's an international brand. The other was complete switch, right? Selling to international market, managing large accounts, understanding software services, and selling software solutions, things like that. So somehow I was not very convinced that okay, this career path, selling to domestic market, is something which I wanted to do, and I felt that even during when I was doing sales calls, I always had this envy on the software guys that okay, what these guys do within the AC rooms. So I wanted to be part of that culture of that. So I wanted to explore that option. So yeah, I think so. It means a desk job, not on a bike, roaming under the sun and things like that. So that is just the start. But you will notice the difference only after you join the job, right? So all the flashy things you see when you're on the other side. So, but yeah, I think different points I evaluated, and I decided to join with Arisent in their large account management team, one of the large account management team. So it was a very different journey altogether. Compared to what I had been doing.
No, fair enough. I think a lot of sales guys, at least based on what I've heard, they tend to stick to the same industries because there is a network. It's easier to sell. There's experience and everything. So I think it also makes sense to switch up things a little, move out of your comfort zone, try out new things, and you never know where you end up next. So
Very
this
true.
happened,
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. You saying something?
Yeah, I agreed. Yeah, it's very true. A lot of sales guys stick to the same industry because of the network they are building and to leverage that. Yeah, that's true.
So at that point of time, you were out of B school. You had been working for a while, though things were not very rosy at the beginning, but things were starting to like pick up. You spent a sizable amount of time even with Aricent, working in software sales and just getting your new chops over there. After that, you moved on to your next role, which was actually you moved on to your next role at Prodapt, and that Prodapt which, was kind of the turning point in your career, I would say, because you kind of did so many things over there, and that's where you actually ended up moving into a very different role altogether by the end of your tenure there. So let's
Yeah.
dive into it. Like, how did that happen? I believe you worked with Prodapt for close to 8 years.
So this role came knocking, and the CEO then was trying to set up a new business development team in Chennai, and they were trying to build a new business development engine, and they were hiring for managers and executive sales or BDRs, you can say, to lead the team. And I was one of the sales managers, BD managers hired for that role. So that's how I got into this, because for Prodapt was a much smaller company compared to Aricent at that point, and very small company at that point. But they were very, the founder was very much invested in the growth, and he wanted to try a lot of new things. And so they had a very steady set of accounts, but they were also investing in new technologies like IoT at that point of time, and a few other things. So they are also trying to get into newer accounts. Basically, Aricent was selling to telecom product equipment companies, providing software services. Prodapt was selling to communication service providers like the Airtel and Vodafone sort of companies. So basically, it's a similar industry, but different customer segment. So that's how I landed up with Prodapt to lead the new business development function. And I think couple of 2.5 years I was in that role. And then there was an opportunity to lead the South Africa business for Prodapt. And South Africa business has been there for some time with Prodapt, and the existing business was staying flat for a long time, and they wanted to bring in some new change and try to see if there is a growth possible there. So I moved to South Africa. Like, I traveled quite a lot then, like, because of some visa issues and my own personal situation. Also, I was married and my wife was working here. Things like that. I didn't immediately wanted to move, but we tried to work out something like, okay, I'll be there for every alternate month or 2 months, something like that. So almost for 1.5 years or 18, 19 months, I used to be shuttling between Chennai and Johannesburg. So again, it was a very good exposure, because one of the first, probably the international exposure, sales exposure for me. And it's a very different market compared to the usual, very familiar US or the European markets. It's a little different market there. But I think they had a very good ecosystem of 4-5 top telecom companies to whom we could sell. We were already selling to one large telecom account there. So my charter was to grow that as well as to penetrate into newer accounts. So that was a stint that gave a lot of base for the next set of growth for me, because the geography was new, not much of business development knowledge within the ecosystem. I mean, how to crack the South African market and how to penetrate the newer accounts. not done much at that point of time. So yeah, a lot of trial and error has to happen happen that point of time. And the company was also not very familiar, or not a big brand like the large players. And individually also you are learning. So it all forced me to try something unconventional, right? Like you cannot go like in India, knock at the door and go in. So it's a very security sensitive city also, because there are guns. And I mean, you go to a mall, there will be a place to keep the guns actually, along with the parking lot, so which we don't see in India. So we don't even know that who are having guns in our neighbors, right? Like, but there it's very common, like you can see like gunshots happening and things like that. So it's a very different country and culture, even from a business angle. So one has to be nuanced from the people's standpoint also, like account mapping and other things. But yeah, this forced me to take LinkedIn a little more seriously at that point, and to reach out to audience or my target customers through LinkedIn. Also try to build brand authority at that point of time, thought leadership, content, writing, things like that has been quite actually I had not taken up for a long time. I used to read. My reading habit started during my college school days, and then I had written for like essays in the competition success review, which a lot of these civil service aspirants used to read. Now, because the situation was so much that there is no other way to reach the audience, but this is the only option that I was thinking, okay, this is the better way to reach them. So I started writing about like common challenges faced by CIOs, CTOs of telecom companies, and how that can be solved, as well as reaching out to them on LinkedIn and trying to get meetings and things like that. So over a period, it started getting some results. So initially, I was trying to, do multiple things, nothing happened. And then this one I consistently started doing. Over a period, it started yielding results. So I started getting meetings. People started responding to invites, things like that. So a lot of good things happened because of this approach. And I think whatever we call now social selling or personal branding, I think I started doing that somewhere around 2017, 2018, that point of time. So yeah, we got into a couple of new accounts at that point of time through that approach also. So it was very rewarding from that exercise standpoint. Even I got a couple of speaking opportunities which I could not go because I had to move on with another role. So all of this was a result of looking at what is the opportunities that are there, as well as how we can leverage social media, LinkedIn, to build brand authority, to build thought leadership content and things like that, which eventually got me into newer accounts and conversions. Yeah.
Your product journey has been quite the one with a lot of twists and turns. I think one thing that I recall from our previous conversation is and you used to go ahead because you were trying to develop the market and you were trying to take a slightly different approach. You also reached out to several publications, doing like a proper cold outreach to these publications, pitching about, the kind of article that you would like to write. And that kind of yielded results, which ended up getting you on the radar of the senior leadership at Prodapt, which led to a few other changes later. Can we just get into that?
Yeah, true. So along the lines, when I reaching out to the South African market also, so I somehow again got some interest to get published. So I wrote a piece on how communication service providers are transforming to become digital service providers, and I pitched it to a couple of media houses, and one of them was the Economic Times telecom section editor, and that was picked up and they published that. So it was published on ET telecom subsection. So that I actually shared it with my internal office colleagues and my LinkedIn and all of that. So that was one big win. And after some point of time, I think again, I continued that, and then I wrote about how account-based marketing could be done, and again, ET, again one of the ET arms picked up ET marketing or something. So they again picked it up, and it was again live on ET.com, the Economic Times website. So these were a couple of big wins. I also wrote to two or three other more publications, and it were also published data on Voice or something, and two more. So yeah, I think parallelly that point of time was something like I was really going very focused on building both the writing as well as the other side of the face office related thing. So definitely that was a kind of a spark or something like that, which I think got noticed by some of the leadership team and Prodapt. And the role was so I mean, I was there in South Africa for some time, and I was still there. At that point of time, they said that, okay, why don't you join the marketing team in Prodapt, because we are looking to get into bigger accounts, and we definitely need a lot of YAR cover from marketing, and because you have a knack for understanding of technology and how to articulate it, and you've done that and got results in South Africa, let's do it at the company level. So that was the intention with which this proposal came to me to join marketing. Even though it was not a very pleasant thing for me personally, I didn't take it really well at that point. Even though in hindsight it looks like a good change for me, but moving from sales, which is like you are directly accountable for revenue, sales, bringing dollars, is much different respect than being a passive marketing player. So I mean, every sales guy would resonate with that. Like active on the field is one thing, which they may, whether they like it, I mean, whether it's stressful or not stressful, liking, loving, different things, but that gives a different sort of a high. So moving to marketing means it's more passive, and you're not in the limelight, and you don't get that kick of closing customers and things like that. So probably all of this played out in my mind, and even though I was very reluctant, but because this is something which came from the senior management, I took up that role, and I switched to marketing career. So that was the first move from sales to marketing that happened, probably like 5-6 years back now. That's how my marketing journey started. So to build a good narrative for Prodapt and its services, and to build a bigger brand for them, and to get into newer things which we were not doing earlier. So yeah, quite a few milestones personally I was happy about, which I was managed to be part of those successful pursuits. From the marketing side, we won the first time we won an industry award from TM Forum for a specific client engagement. That was something which is very rewarding, because that's the standards body for telecom, and it is the first time we are winning it along with the customer. So it was a big deal, and quite a few milestones like that happened during that part of the marketing journey with the Prodapt. So a lot of, even though I am not a career marketer, but within like 2.5 years, and a lot of exposure happened from inside sales to email marketing to brand transformation to website transformation. We did quite a lot of activities at that point of time, and the management was very supportive, because they invested quite a lot at that point of time to elevate from one orbit to the next level. And I think I would say I was fortunate to be part of that part of the marketing journey, because I know how it was earlier, but during that 3.5 years, it was very transformational. The marketing team as such, the focus from the leadership, and the exposure that it created, the opportunities that it opened up, and all the accomplishments that came after that. Yeah,
That's quite a start to marketing, to having your marketing career. But it sounds exciting. You got to do so many things over there. That was indeed a turning point in your career.
I don't believe so. But yeah, I think there is a lot more to come. So, not sure like how many more turning points are there. But yeah,
Absolutely.
definitely it is one of the big milestones, you can say. I mean, yeah, if engineering to sales was one big milestone, then this is another big milestone because I'd been in sales for almost like a decade or so, and then I switched to this neuro. Yeah.
True. Very true. I think I recall one more thing from our conversation earlier. Like when you were at Prodapt and you were working on, some marketing projects, you worked very closely with Indranil Chakraborty, and he has been a huge personal influence on you as well because he rekindled that interest in storytelling. Uh, so, and that's kind of impacted your career journey to this day as well. I think to some extent, it started off a little earlier because right now you are into business storytelling. You work with clients to do that. So, can we just get a little more into that?
Sure. Yeah. See, when I made the switch to marketing, it was quite natural that I need to upskill myself in that area. So I also wanted to, I undertook some writing courses because that's a key now. And although I was writing on the side for my own thing, but I also wanted to learn it professionally. So I invested in myself and did a writing retreat. With Himalayan writing retreat at that point of time. So that gave some basic, structure, right? Like you have been writing, but learning writing is doing it in a more, defined manner and things like that. There is a lot of other nuances, right? Like those things, wanted to learn it. So that was one thing that I picked up, and the urge to upskill, right? Because now you're leading a team. I didn't want to repeat the mistake of what I did with L-Forge. That point of time, there was no other scope. But this time, I really wanted to upskill, and I wanted to know the nuances of marketing and how to narrate stuff, technology solutions in a more convincing manner, and that creates impact, right? So I started reading a lot of books and stuff like that related to marketing. And then, you also watch through YouTube and things like that. So I think in one of the instances through YouTube or somewhere, I got to watch Andrenil's speech on business storytelling, which led me to buy his book, Stories at Work. And I also had read that book. And that was quite a few, it opened up my mind and to the various ways in which narratives could be done in a business context. So that was really a very good exposure. Like the book gave me a good foundation. It also happened that we have management offsite every year in Prodapt. So I proposed his name and the management accepted, and they had conversations with him, and there was a session by him to the senior leadership team on the importance of storytelling, the website, architecture, and things like that. So I think the management also liked that, whatever the ideas and concepts he proposed, and which led to conversion that hiring him as a consultant for our brand transformation, in which I was closely involved working, and also the website transformation. Both the things happened in parallel, and we got a lot of inputs. I worked along with him and along with the senior management in defining that stuff for Prodapt. So so that was a very defining period, or you can say that there was a one good exposure. So along with that book, I also read multiple other books, but he was very close in India, and you get to work with somebody who has already done that and is already doing that for different other brands. And it gave me a good exposure, good foundation on business storytelling, and also the opportunity to work with him. So which definitely added value to my own area of work. Yeah, and that's something which I'm taking it forward. I think the seed and spark was there, but I think his work and a lot of other established leaders in this field, their work, all of that influenced me in a much in a more impactful manner. So I think which prompted me to take up this as a specialization that I wanted to pursue in the next leg of my journey. So I think that definitely played a role. Yeah,
it's so heartening to hear that. I think it's like full circle. You were always interested in writing. I know that we did not touch on that part during the conversation, but during our initial conversation, I recall it very strongly that, here is a guy who's been very keen on writing. He enjoys the whole process and the whole idea of it. And then life has kind of come to full circle now doing what you do. So I think that's serendipity at work, maybe.
True. Yeah. I think whatever you are good at, right, it will come and help you or rescue in some instances, and you feed it in other instances. So it's also something which you give and you take, right? Like it's a resource that you feed into, and then you also nurture it at different points. So I had been having that, interest and passion since my school days. So it has been a little bit like, okay, there will be some phases in which I go very hard on that, like very, write more consistently and things like that the last 20 years. And then there were periods where it was very quiet, and then I again pick it up. So something like that. But at least the last few years, I had been, okay, this is something which can get us money and things like that. Now we are convinced, and that a lot of people who have done that. And naturally you also read, and you also get a lot of other exposure, right? Like the term creator economy, all of that is very new, maybe in the last 4 or 5 years. But before that, nobody had that, right? So I think market also plays a major role.
Moving on to the next part of your journey, after spending a great chunk of time with established companies, established brand, you later on moved to working into your very first startup, which was iMocha. And you were the very first brand marketing hire there. You led brand marketing over there. So what was your experience like working at a very, in a very different setup altogether and leading efforts from ground up? I would love to hear about that.
Yeah, so it's startup and SaaS has been a very much something which I wanted to pursue, and it was an area which was interesting for me quite some time. But I never worked in such an environment. So when this opportunity came, so it was a no-brainer. So that I had been there with Prodapt for 8 years, and I anyway wanted to try something new, and this came in. And Amit Mishra, who is the founder of iMocha, is a firm believer of again storytelling and the impact of brand on the product and the overall company itself. So it was very nice to be associated with him, because when you have the CEO who is a firm believer of marketing and brand and storytelling, so you don't have a lot of challenges which other marketers generally face, right? Like proving the ROI and stuff like that. But again, all those were there. But the point is, he was himself a convinced marketer and storyteller. So that played a lot of, very good influence on my, impact on the company itself, on the work. So, because there has been some fundraise and they were in a growth path, they had been making, iMocha was making quite a lot of people investments, and to accelerate the growth and to get to the next orbit, which was quite natural. And there was also in between, we also played a pivot. We did a pivot from a product positioning standpoint, product itself, from a product, standpoint itself. There was a switch that was made. So in that work also, quite a lot of work went from brand marketing side. So it was a very interesting assignment, because building a team from ground up, and that too, it was the first all 100% remote sort of a role. It was a very good and very good learning experience. Working in a SaaS company, product, software, HR tech was a new industry altogether for me. I'd been in the telecom, software services all the while. So HR, selling to HR leaders, although I worked in a lot of these HR projects in Prodapt from a branding standpoint and other things, employer branding and things like that. But selling to HRs is something which I have not done. So it was very useful. It was a very good opening, right? Like when you explore a different industry altogether, different problem you are solving for the people side of the company. And accelerating the growth in the social media, building thought leadership. We launched several initiatives We collaborated with brands to bring out thought leadership articles and reports. So we participated in multiple events. We worked with analyst relations and analyst, top leading analyst, out of which a lot of the results are coming out now, even though I'm not there, but a lot of groundwork happened at that point of time. And I think all of that was a very good learning experience, building a team from scratch and taking it to a stage where it is really making some business impact. Brand making business impact is something which everyone wants to do, but not everyone has the positions or the things to do it. So in a way, we were able to do that to some extent during my 1.5 years of stint there in IMOCA. Yeah.
It's a pretty exciting journey as well. I think experiencing a new setup, a new industry, and also I think that there's nothing exciting for a marketer to work with a leadership who gets marketing, who gets storytelling, is an advocate of doing that. So I think it sounds like a very interesting time out there. Yeah, please go ahead.
Of course, it was a very good. Of course, it was a very good experience. The people, it is very different culture altogether. Very fast in making decisions, like a startup, and quite a lot of things, right? Like from a people standpoint, leadership standpoint, exposure standpoint, different marketing teams working together to make some impact and on a larger initiative, company initiative, things like that. So I think because it is one of the smallest companies that I worked, I was also known to multiple people. So different other angles also I had explored personally with some of the and sales pursuits I helped in some instances. So things like that actually was a very good exposure and good learning also. And that was a good experience to have, definitely.
I think you moved on from IMOCA a couple of months ago, and you're right now on a sabbatical. You're taking a break, and you're doing your own personal projects at the moment. But I think one thing that I would really like to dive into is you mentioned a passion for writing throughout your career. You've taken it on and off depending on the bandwidth, what was happening in life at that point of time. But I would like to understand, how did you leverage like the storytelling and that content creation skills to overcome some initial challenges in your early marketing career when you started off? I think because it's been in your service for I think ever since you started working in marketing, like even when you were in South Africa trying to develop a new market with social selling, or reaching out by yourself, doing a cold outreach to publications to make sure that you're getting some space for Prodapt out there on their publications. So how can we dive a little more into it?
So I think marketers generally, there are two different marketers, right? Like we know that there is a generalist and there's a specialist. So I pursued a different career path into marketing, little unconventional. I came from sales into marketing. So naturally, you have to have some strength because it's very difficult to survive as a generalist for a long period of time. Once you reach at the leadership level, it's a different thing. But when you are in the execution side of the at that level, it's better you know some stuff, right? Like basically about marketing. So one is the theoretical concepts, then the other is the how you are going to execute it. So from that standpoint, definitely writing plays a major role because in the digital world, you put out content in a different formats, and then it helps tell a story about the product or the solutions that you're trying to sell, and it also helps you to build a brand. It can be an email draft sequence for lead generation, or it can be a thought leadership piece of content, or it can be a social media content for brand awareness, things like that. So there are multiple angles to it, but understanding one is the technology or the solution that you are selling itself, and then the other is articulating it. So my strength was like, okay, because I had been in the sales side and been interfacing with customers, So that intelligence and knowledge was very helpful, because that was really important, which most of the times marketers, because they switch industries, they switch different roles and things like that too often. Sometimes they fail to understand the domain experience, expertise. They fail to gain the domain experience and expertise, right? And if that is there, then when you club that with your inherent skill of writing, it makes a potent mix actually. And I think now there are quite a few people whom we can look up to, who are doing really well in articulating it better. So that's a different, that's the next stage, I would say. So understanding domain is something which I think people have to invest time on to learn. And then when they combine their skill of writing, then it's a journey that you can take. And then you can look up to people who are already ahead of the journey, who are doing it really well, and things like that. So that's something which I would say is an important way to progress about and that career.
I would like to come to the final part of the conversation right now, and that would be around. So you've had an exciting, unconventional career journey. So, what are the takeaways that you would like to share with listeners who are probably in shoes similar to yours right now, having their own non-linear career paths, or who are considering career transitions? Because a lot of folks are quite hesitant to make a switch, maybe due to fear or uncertainty. So, what are your takeaways, or what advice would you like to give?
Okay, see, I think the fear of uncertainty is for sure. There is a definite thing that is there. One can't wish away that. But what one can do is take probably one step at a time. And if you are working within a company, making a career transition within the company is much better than switching from a company to company during which you are trying to make a career transition, because that time the selling your thing becomes sometimes may become a challenge. But within a company, if you're trying to transition, it could be much better. So you may have to, if somebody is looking at a career transition, looking from one domain to another, things like that, it's worth considering that option first. If that doesn't work out, then probably the second option is when you switch a company, you make an entire career. But apart from that, being curious, right? How you learn about a new domain if you're not being curious. So that's something which I think that's a trait somebody has to have. And also the importance to upskilling, for example, right? Learning stuff. So curiosity and upskilling, because these days every job or role, a lot of studies have said that every 3 to 4 years, every job role skills are changing. The skills that are needed for a social media manager pre-Gen A versus post-Gen A is totally different, right? A lot of changes have happened. Like that, every job role, not just social media manager role, but every job role is going through multiple transitions, and every 3 to 4 years, the skills that are needed to perform a job role is changing. So the constant need to upskill is going to be there, and it's better somebody does that proactively rather than being pushed to do it. And then being curious about stuff, right? Like in any domain you want to pursue, anything that you are not familiar with, I think being curious is something which is definitely needed. Because I was a quizzer during my college, in school and college days. That curiosity has been there since the beginning to learn new things and stuff like that. But it can be anybody, for any others also, they can inculcate that. So I would say curiosity, being ready to upskill and learn new things, and time with the move, career transition move in the right manner. Looking at their situation, right, and depending upon their individual situation, the company, the opportunities, I would say that okay, make a cautious move. Yeah.
That's great advice. I'm sure it's going to be extremely helpful and much needed for a lot of folks listening to this particular episode. I think to wrap this up, would you like to do like a final reflection on your career journey, or anything else that you would like to share with the listeners?
Well, I think God has been kind. That's all I can say, because every career pivot that I had been taken, sometimes I had taken at times where I was not comfortable, which was forced, or it came along the way and I picked it up. But even otherwise, whenever I have thought, okay, why not I try this, there was an opportunity that came knocking. Um, I think that's something which that is beyond me, right? Like 1.5 years after and Godrej, there was a need for me to look out, because I was not really settled there. But it came, the opportunity came knocking my door. Not one but two job offers was there. So I think being prepared for that, and doing some good things for people, build a good network. I think probably that also has helped me, because in multiple instances that has helped me open doors. I think the Avaya was one great example, as well as the opportunity with Arisent also came through an alumni. So I mean, not always you need to apply and get. Now there are more opportunities that come through references, and it is easier to convert, and you also get a better benefit, and they also get a good find, all of that. So yeah, networking is something which I would say, whatever is comfortable, at whatever level at which you are comfortable, somebody has to pursue networking at all costs. I mean, at all levels. I think that's something which has helped. Mita, yeah.
Great. That's such a lovely note to wrap up the conversation on, Krishna. Once again, thank you so very much for taking time to share your journey so graciously, so open-heartedly with me and the listeners. I'm sure your story, your journey is going to provide so many helpful points and inspiration to so many listeners. So thank you once again for, taking time and doing this with me.
Thank you, Mita, for this opportunity. I hope I have not bored. But yeah, I think I was really happy and to be part of this show, and appreciate your time and effort to do this. I'm looking forward.